What's up, YouTube? You're tuned to the Cutting Room Knife Review. I'm your host, Garrett, and today we're checking out the Spyder Co Sage 6. But before we check out the Sage 6, I just wanted to say congratulations to the winner of the QSP Parrot for our 50 subscriber giveaway. It was just announced, and although future me knows who won, current me is recording this at a time where I do not know who has won yet. But at this point, one of you has won this, and I will be mailing it out soon. Congratulations. I'm really stoked that we've gotten this far. And our next big goal is 100 subscribers. And the winner of the 100 subscriber giveaway will get a Civivi Buster FG. So we're looking forward to that, guys. It probably will happen after this weekend. Anyway, congratulations. Back to the Sage 6. What's up, guys? I'm Garrett. You're tuned in to the Cutting Room Knife Review, where I review knives, blades, and all things sharp. Please like and subscribe so I can keep bringing you more killer knife content. So this is Spyder Co Sage 6, you guys. It is one of the more medium to small carries that Spyder Co makes. I would consider this about as small of a knife as I would want to carry as my main everyday carry. A smaller knife than this would either have to be for, like an office carry where I couldn't have a big knife, or something that I needed to conceal, like in maybe board shorts, or, I'm carrying a tiny little knife like the Dragonfly for a specific reason that I can only have a very small knife. Now, the Spyder Co Sage 6 is the sixth Sage in a line of very popular Spyder Co knives. The Sage 5 was probably the most popular out of all the Sage series. The difference between all the Sages is a locking mechanism, and the Sage knife is actually a tribute to knife makers and the different locking mechanisms that they've brought to the table of the knife community. So let's go through the different Sages and the different locks and the different knife makers that each model Sage is a tribute to. Now, all of the Sage series features this small leaf-shaped blade and about the same size scales and handle, though they come in different knife steels and different handle materials. The first Sage is a tribute to Michael Walker's liner lock. And if you know anything about a liner lock, you guys, it is one of the most basic locking mechanisms. Basically, you have a liner on the inside of the scales of your knife, and the liner locks up the knife blade, much like this TRD Atom. So if you look at the Atom, we have a liner lock right here. The liner of the knife locks the blade into place. We move the liner to the side, the knife blade closes. Now, the second Sage is a tribute to Chris Reeves' Reeve Integral Lock design, or better known as a frame lock. This is Chris Reeves' Sabenza, and it has a frame lock. So the Chris Reeve Integral Lock has an integral part of the scale lock the blade. Just like the liner lock, it blocks the bottom of the blade right here, except this is the actual frame of the knife locking the blade. Pressure from the frame goes down and under the knife blade, and when we press the frame back to the side, the knife is able to close. Now, I don't have examples of the third and fourth Sage models. The Sage 3 is Blackie Collins' innovative bolt action lock. It's a unique design. It's not seen in many knives nor any other Spyder Co knives. The Sage 4 is Almar's popularized front lock, which is also known as a mid-back lock, and I do not have any knives in that lock either. Sage 5 is probably the most popular of the Sage series, and it features the compression lock. And you can find the compression lock on many Spyder Co's, just like this paramilitary too. Now, the compression lock takes the liner of the knife, but in the back, and makes a tab right here that locks the back of the blade into place. And I can push this tab out of the way, and it releases the blade. That way, we have actually a stronger lock than we would have with a liner lock that locks in the front. We find this mostly on Spyder Co knives, but you are going to start finding this lock on other knives. But this is a very fun lock for fidgeting. It's great because it takes your fingers out of the way of the blade path. Now, the one problem with it is if you're left-handed, it takes your thumb off the side of the knife. So bring my thumb off the side of the knife, I don't hold the knife as well or as firmly. With a right-handed user, we take our forefinger, our index finger presses on this, and now our hand is out of the way of the blade. The blade can't close on us, whereas with a liner lock or a frame lock, our fingers are in the way of the blade, and if we have a drop shut blade, our fingers might get hit. Now, this isn't very common, but removing your finger from that situation completely makes it much safer. So that's great about the compression lock, except for left-handed users have a bit of a problem with it compared to right-handed users. Now the Sage 6 has what's called a button-activated compression lock. And what this is a lock that was made famous by Kevin Smock. And Kevin Smock created the button-activated compression lock by making a button press the liner in the same place as a compression lock would. So what this allows to happen is a left-handed user can now use their index finger to press the locking mechanism, and they don't have to take their thumb off the frame of the knife. So now we can use the button-activated compression lock in both right and left-handed users, keeping our hand out of the way of the blade and keeping both sides of our hands pinching the scales or frame of the knife, keeping control over it, being honestly probably the most effective lock that there is out of these locks. I would argue that the frame lock might be a stronger lock than the compression lock. That's a good argument. I'm not sure which really is. There's a few other locks like the Super Lock or Shark Lock made by Demco that is very strong. Back locks are very strong. But as far as this discussion goes with Sages, I'm going to say that either the compression lock or the frame lock are the strongest, but the compression lock, especially the button-activated compression lock, has an edge up over either of these because it's right and left-handed, which our lefty friends, I'm sure, appreciate very much. So, much like the Smock, the Sage 6 has this button-active compression lock. So this is the final form of the Sage series so far that we have. It has a button-active compression lock, a button-activated compression lock, and is a tribute to Kevin Smock. Now let's take a look at the measurements and the specifications of the Sage 6. Now, the Sage 6 has evolved over time, but it has always been known for its high-quality materials and a high level of manufacturing. The Sage 6 is a Spyder Co that is made in the Taichung, Taiwan factory. The Taichung, Taiwan factory puts out great Spyder Cos, and this is no exception to that. One of the things that the Sage 6 is definitely known for is the variety of blade steels that is available in. Now, almost all the Sage 6s, as well as almost all Spyder Cos, are available in the base steel of CPM S30V. CPM S30V is a great all-around steel. It's a great steel for base models. There's nothing wrong with S30V. It might not be the most exciting steel, it might not be the most new steel, but it is a very well-rounded steel. It holds a great edge. It's very durable. It's very stainless. It is a great blade steel. It's fairly inexpensive by comparison to some of these other steels that the Sage is made in. It's a great choice if you are new to knives, if you're new to the Sage 6, or you just don't want to spend a ton of money on an exotic blade steel. Or if you just want a well-rounded blade steel, this is a good choice if you want a little bit like, jack of all trades, best of all worlds. You may not have the craziest edge retention. You may not have the craziest, stainlessness, but you have a good bit of everything in the S30V. Now, the Sage 6s came in many other steels. It's came in S35VN and Spy 27, Maximet, Rex 121, and MagnaCut, to name a few. Now, the Sage 6 itself comes in S30V, and there's only one sprint run so far of it. And sprint run being a Spyder Co run of a model in a different steel than what the original is produced in. And the Sage 6 sprint run has been released in S90V. S90V is an awesome steel for edge retention. It's one of the best steels for edge retention. I would say it is a step up over the S30V. Maybe not so much in durability, but as far as edge retention goes, it's much better. You're not going to have to sharpen the S90V nearly as much as you would the S30V. And I really find S90V to be pretty durable. I don't really have any problems with it not being tough enough for any of the uses that I have. So I have both the S30V and the S90V Spyder Co Sage 6. I'm going to be letting go of one of these, but I wanted to keep them together for this review. When I let the one go, I'm going to be letting go of the S30V. I find that the S90V is more desirable for me and my uses. Let's get down to the overall measurements of the Spyder Co Sage 6. Now, the Spyder Co Sage 6 overall length is 7.13 inches. The closed length is 4.17 inches. The blade length is exactly 3 inches. The cutting edge, or effective cutting edge, is 2.64 inches. And the blade thickness is 0.118 or 3 millimeters. The weight of the Sage 6 is very light. It's 3.1 ounces. It's almost as light as a Golden Design Works Slim. So this is a model that is going to be very easy to carry in the pocket. It is going to be not cumbersome. Another knife that you could probably wear with elastic waistband shorts. It is going to be an easy carry, a lightweight carry. You could throw it in your purse if you're a lady, or you could throw it in anywhere that you would want to. It's not going to wear you down. The S30V and the S90V Spyder Co Sage 6 both have a peely ply texture carbon fiber G10 handle. Both of them have the Spyder Co wire clip. I happen to like the wire clip. It's a deep carry clip that comes stock on the Spyder Co models. And a lot of Spyder Co models that don't have the wire clip, we're going to wind up with the spoon clip. And with the spoon clip, what we have is something that does not carry nearly as deep. You have this much of the knife sticking out your pocket. Whereas with the Sage 6, you have almost no knife sticking out of your pocket. We have an all steel liner, a steel button, and steel hardware. It runs on phosphor bronze washers like almost all Spyder Co do. Now, the Spyder Co Sage 6 has earned itself a nickname, and that nickname is the Para 3 Killer. There's good reason for this. The Para 3 and the Sage 6 are very close to the same size. Now, the Para 3 tends to be a little bit heavier than the Sage 6. The Para 3 tends to be a little bit thicker than the Sage 6, both in handle thickness and in the blade's spine. The blade spine of the Para 3 is quite a bit thicker than the blade spine of the Sage 6. This is going to be ultimately a bit slicier of a knife than the Para 3 is. I think the Para 3 is going to be a little bit more durable of a knife than the Sage 6. Which one do you like? I would say whichever one fits in your hand better. If you like the ergonomics of the Para 3, where you can get your hand behind this blade and you have more of the drop point bird skull style Spyder Co knife, which is very popular with a lot of long-term diehard Spyder Co fans, you're going to go with the Para 3. If you like the leaf shaped blade, you like a little bit lighter of a knife, you like a little bit slicier of a knife, go with the Sage. Now, if you want hard use, I think I'd go with the Paramilitary series. If you want compact ease of use, I go with the Sage series. Now, closed, they're about the same. They're ultimately about the same. Now, the leaf shape, both the Mannix and the Sage series, kind of eat up a little bit more of your pocket across the whole knife, but the Para series, or Paramilitary series, military series, whatever you would like to call it, does have this, top of the bird's eye that does stick out just about as far. But as far as size goes, you're going to be getting about the same size as a Para 3 in your Sage 6. Any Sage model for that matter. So when we take out, let's say, the Mannix 2, we have a bigger knife in the Mannix 2. When we take out a model like, we can have the Demco AD 20.5, we have about the same size. We can take out a knife like the Chris Reeve Sabenza 31, and we have a much bigger knife. We can then take out a knife like the Rick Hinderer XM18, and once again, we're going to have a much bigger knife. We can take out a model like, or a knife like the Oz Roosevelt. We have about the same size knife. It's actually really a close size to the Oz Roosevelt. You get a little bit more blade belly and blade length in the Roosevelt, but the Sage itself is actually a very, very similar size to the Oz Roosevelt. Now, the Oz Roosevelt does cost about 4 times the amount of the Sage, or at least the old Sages. The new Sage 6 costs probably only about 2.5 times less than the Roosevelt, which is still a significant amount. The one last knife that I would like to compare to the Sage 6 is going to be a discontinued knife, but I think it's a very interesting comparison, and that is going to be the Leaf Jumper. The Leaf Jumper in K390 is a very usable knife, and what you get with a Leaf Jumper is a little bit less belly in the blade and a little bit more handle in your hand. The Sage 6 feels a little bit smaller in the hand than the Leaf Jumper does, and the blade of the Leaf Jumper, you get a little bit more of a kick right here in the spine to push your thumb up against, but you don't get a choil like you do here to get your finger under. I think the Spyder Co Leaf Jumper gets overlooked a lot, but I find these knives to be very similar in use. So if you're a big Seki City fan, and what I find is that a lot of Spyder Co fans tend to gravitate towards one of the factories to the other. Either you're an all-American Spyder Co person, or maybe you're an all-Japanese Spyder Co person. The Taiwanese knives tend to be very different, so it's kind of hard to say that you're a Taiwanese knife Spyder Co person, because you can almost always tell what a Seki City knife looks like basically by the handle. It's going to be a backlock. A lot of times it'll be in K390, and just the style of the blade tends to be like a Seki City style. The American Spyder Co's tend to have, a style of their own, and you can kind of tell when it's an American Spyder Co. It's you're going to have a military shape, a native shape, or you can have the Mannix shape. And really, the Mannix shape is what's closest in the American Spydercos to the shape of the Sage series. However, there's nothing size-wise in the Mannix series that comes down anywhere near close to the Sage. This is the smallest of the Mannix series. The Mannix 2XL is a gigantic knife, and we're kind of getting out of the range of things that are actually competing with the Sage. Now, when I say things from Taiwan factory look very different, I'll show them to you in these two knives. You have the Canis, and you have the Smock. These all come from the Taiwan factory of Spyder Co. So it's hard to say that you're, a Taiwan Spyder Co guy. I kind of am, but they all kind of seem like one-off knives, like very different, eclectic designs. The Smock is a favorite knife of mine, and actually the Canis is an absolute favorite knife of mine. This is a wild knife, and I will review it some other time because it's going to take a whole review to go over this amazing and strange and interesting knife. What we have is probably the most mainstream of the Taiwan Spyder Co knives, and it's very usable. It's very, very all around good. So my closing thoughts on the Spyder Co Sage 6 are that it's a really comfortable knife in the hand. The way the choil fits my index finger, my thumb goes right up against this jimping on the back of the blade spine. It fits right in the four fingers of my hand. It seems to just melt right in my hand, and it disappears in your pocket. It's a great blade shape. The leaf-shaped blade is Spyder Co's, kind of trademark blade shape. If we're not talking about, the bird skull blade shape that the paramilitary series is going to have, we're going to be talking about a leaf blade shape. The leaf blade shape between this Sage 6 and your Mannix series from the Golden, Colorado factory are going to be two of the most popular of all the blade shapes that Spyder Co makes. And I think some of the most effective blade shapes that Spyder Co makes. You really have a piercing ability with this knife. You have a good slicing ability with this knife. And with how thin it is behind the edge, it really does just slice through things. This knife holds up to the tests. It's a great knife. Now, here is my issue with the Sage 6. And the only issue I have with the Sage 6 is the cost. And the cost of the Sage 6 is a problem. It's just kind of a problem to me. It's a great knife, but why do I pay $160 minus the add-on titanium scales? But for a stock Para 3 and Spy 27, why do I pay about $160 where I'm paying $220 for the MAP of the Sage 6? I don't know if that's the exact MAP or not, but the MSRP of a S30V Sage 6 is $300. That's astronomical to me for this knife. You're not getting a whole lot more knife in between either of these two knives. These directly compete with each other. They call it a Para 3 killer, but it's only because they're basically swappable knives. I could carry this one day and this the next day, and they're going to perform just about the same. Why do I pay more for the Sage 6 than the Para 3? Well, there is kind of an answer to that. And when you really think about it, what you have is American steel with a CPM S30V being shipped to Taiwan, a knife being made in Taiwan, shipped back to America and sold. And that extra $60 kind of goes into that. And that makes sense to me. Now, the Sage has always been kind of a more expensive knife, and I think that's probably the reason is because we're having to import it. And it's using American materials to import, whereas with a Japanese import, we're going to be using a German steel, and who knows if the tariffs or the import taxes are as big on that. And we also are, of course, using a cheaper handle material with our Seki City blades. Now, here's the thing about the Sage that I'm going to have to ask you, and you're going to have to make a decision for yourself. Is this worth, $200, $20, or whatever the MAP is for it, the $300 MSRP? You've got the S90V for $400 MSRP. That hurts me to say. Just $400 for that knife is just, it's a G. These are carbon fiber, but they're a G10. It's Peely Applied G10. Like, these are not titanium scales. They're not even aluminum scales. You have a great steel here. The heat treating is great, but come on, guys. There's S90V knives that do not have an MSRP of $400. You're creeping up on knives that are much nicer than this knife, as far as aesthetics go, as far as like the fit and finish goes. A Spyder Co is a tool. It's not fancy, but you can get a lot of knives for the price range between these two knives. So what we're going to have is the low 200s up to $300 is the MAP for the S90Vs down here. The S90V. So let's put some knives in between these two. You can get yourself a crew wear smock for less than the S90V. Oh man, I would buy the crew wear smock. That's me. I would buy the crew wear smock. You can get yourself a leaf jumper for a lot less than either of these knives. You can get yourself a Taiwanese, excuse me, I smacked my phone. You can get yourself a Taiwanese Demco in 20 CV with titanium scales for about $300. So these two knives are about the same price. That's kind of getting to be a push for me, guys. What can you get? This Manix 2 Crucarda, cheaper than either of these knives. We're getting into some funny territory here. And now, if you really think about it, for $450, we can get ourselves a Hinder XM18. If you want to go in the used market, you can get one for $350. And now these two are like really close. And like this knife doesn't hold a candle to this knife. I'm sorry, Spyder Co fans. Like, this Rick Hinder is just a beast of a knife that this Spyder Co is not. There's just so much more to this knife than there is to this one. And sorry, not sorry. It's just two different universes, and our price point's getting a little too close for comfort. If I think that we lowered the price point of the S90V to where the S30V was, and changed the price point of the S30V to maybe where it like directly competes with the Para 3, we'd have a much easier sale, and I have a much easier job to do right now. So I am going to go get, a knife right now. So this knife is probably about to hurt some feelings, but you can get yourself a Kunwu Padre for the price of this S90V Spyder Co Sage 6. Let's move that out of the way for a second. Let me say that again. You can get this Kunwu Padre with titanium scales, running on bearings. It's a frame lock. You have this amazing Van X blade, incredible action, incredibly sturdy, for about $300 right now. Out the door from any, you name it, whoever's selling, a Padre, Blade HQ, DLT, any major, knife sale store, right now. This was a $360 knife, but it's on sale right now. Like, I know exactly where it is. I know what it's going for. And these two knives cost the same amount. You will not find me buying this knife over this knife. Period. End of story. I'm not going to do it. I don't care that this is a Chinese knife and this is a Taiwanese knife. Excuse me, bumping my camera again. this knife beats the brakes off this knife all day, every day, and twice on Sunday. Period. End of story. Like, I don't care what you think. Fight me in the comments. Like, it's just not even a comparison. It's not anywhere near a comparison. It's a different universe. There's just, I mean, you have a Damascus pivot on this. Like, come on. Like, get out of here. So that's kind of where I sit on the Sage 6. It's an amazing knife. It's a great knife. It's a really good knife to carry. And it's one of those really, really hard sales because it's a great knife that just costs a little too much. So it's going to have to be up to you guys as to whether or not you want to rock the Sage 6. I'm going to keep the S90V in my arsenal. I think it's a great knife. I already have it. I'm going to get rid of the S30V. Hopefully somebody else can use it and love it. And I'm going to give them to them for a pretty good deal. But if it was you and you got the money and you love the Sage, go for it. You're not going to regret it. If you're not going to miss the money, you're not going to regret it. But if you're going to miss the money, there might be a better blade out there for you. This might not be the blade for you if you are hesitant to, buy this because of the money. So that's what it is, folks. It's a great knife. It just costs a little too much. I would say go buy it if you got the money. You're not going to regret it. It's a handy knife. Works great. Everything's good about it. As far as Spyder Co goes, it's one of the best Spyder Co's out there. It really is. But it's just priced really high in my opinion. So that's that. Great knife, too expensive. That's basically what I have to say about this knife. It's a great knife. It's an outstanding knife. It's just a little too expensive. So if you have the money, go get it. You're not going to regret it. If you're worried about the money, maybe consider something else. But, it doesn't take away from it being a great knife. It's just a little too expensive. So this has been the Sage 6. I'm Garrett. You're watching the Cutting Room Knife Review. Till next time, guys, stay sharp.